Dear Guardian, I'm reaching out to you on behalf of Kailaasa in response to a racist, Hinduphobic and defamatory article published on your website on the 30th of November 2023, titled Paraguay Official Resigns After Signing Agreement with Fictional Country. While we acknowledge the vital role media plays in disseminating information, it is alarming to witness media's unethical stance and systematic disinformation campaign to misrepresent and perpetuate further persecution of our already marginalized and persecuted minority indigenous Hindu communities that are represented by Kailaasa. It is disappointing that this article was published without contacting us first. As a prominent media outlet, I'm confident that The Guardian understands there are always two sides to every story. We would appreciate it if The Guardian would, in the future, contact us to get our side prior to publishing offending articles like the one above. We avail ourselves of this opportunity to set the record straight. The Guardian, by publishing this article, is undeniably responsible for furthering this one-sided disinformation campaign and inciting hate against our persecuted indigenous Hindu community. We strongly condemn any such Hinduphobic, racist lawfare and disinformation campaign that is systematically perpetrated through such articles, which, as history has shown, is a weapon that the imperial racists had perpetrated transnationally for thousands of years, displacing millions of Hindus and pushing them into generations of homelessness and statelessness. While The Guardian may not be the original author and publisher of these articles, The Guardian is responsible and accountable for the legal ramifications of hosting and disseminating any disinformation carried through this article. Internationally, it is recognized by various media self-regulatory bodies that ethics of journalism must include truth and accuracy, independence, fairness and impartiality, humanity, and accountability. This article does not fall under any of the above-mentioned ethics of journalism. We request these serious violations of principles of journalist ethics and these serious instances of journalistic non-integrity within this article be immediately addressed by The Guardian. 1. False allegations and dehumanizing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, addressing him as a fugitive. The SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam is not a fugitive. The SPH is a persecuted individual whose basic human rights were denied, which is well documented with a plethora of evidence that can be shared with The Guardian on request. To highlight just a few points contrary to The Guardian's article, Interpol has rejected any request to issue notices for the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam based on the evidence presented. Furthermore, a US court order exonerates the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam. An Ohio District Court ruled in favor of the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam and fined the false victim nearly $500,000 in penalty. See United States District Court, Southern District of Ohio, case number 2:13-CV-00526. The omission of the US court order that exonerated the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam of false accusations, while at the same time and in sharp contrast, actively spreading disinformation in relation to the above-mentioned false accusations, are strong indicators of journalistic non-integrity on behalf of the authors, the editors, and The Guardian. 2. Defamatory disinformation against the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam. False and malicious allegations of rape. It is important to note that despite nearly 15 years of malicious persecution in India, the SPH has not been convicted of any crime. The unproven allegations in India of rape are false and malicious. Moreover, the SPH, Nithyananda Paramashivam, was proven innocent and exonerated in the US judiciary more than 10 years ago. The SPH, Nithyananda Paramashivam, is a persecuted individual whose basic human rights were denied and has been subjected to more than a decade of lawfare. Many prominent world-renowned human rights advocates, such as King's Counsel Mr. Jeffrey Robertson, have given independent reports and legal opinions attesting to this very matter. 3. Disinformation about Kailaasa, false portrayal of Kailaasa as non-existent, and maliciously delegitimizing the Hindu nation through disinformation. Is Taiwan, Kosovo, or Palestine a state? Some would say yes, others would say no. What is incontrovertible is that self-determination and the right to freedom of religion are human rights which are enshrined in many international instruments, including the United Nations Charter. The right to self-determination. People with a common origin, history, language, culture, customs, or religion can turn into a nation through the awakening of national consciousness. A nation can exist even without a state, as is exemplified by stateless nations such as Palestine. Citizenship is not always the nationality of a person. The United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the ICCPR, which is recognized by 178 nations, in its very first article declares, all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. The right to freedom of religion. The same ICCPR declares through Article 18 the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom, either alone or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. These are basic rights which are being exercised by all of Kailaasa's citizens. Kailaasa may be less recognized when compared to other states, but that doesn't stop the people of Kailaasa from exercising their fundamental human rights and their political rights of building diplomatic relations and seeking recognition. Kailaasa is a sovereign entity as per international law. Kailaasa is a non-violent, humanitarian, service-oriented nation, and we are constantly being hammered with hate speech and persecuted by Hindu-phobic, Hindu-misic, and racist forces denying our rights to exist and our rights to get recognition. 4. Disinformation against Kailaasa. False, defamatory, and derogatory claims that Kailaasa representatives duped officials, and false claims that Kailaasa representatives signed a memorandum of understanding or an agreement. The document referenced in your article was neither a memorandum of understanding nor an agreement, but rather a proclamation. As it is a proclamation, there is nothing that Kailaasa receives in return. Furthermore, had it been an MOU, it would merely have been a statement of possibility of Kailaasa making contributions at some point in the future. Even as such, Kailaasa, without any vested interest, without anything to gain, without any obligation to contribute, has already contributed 3 million Guarani worth of medical aid to support the people of a local community in Paraguay. Kailaasa's humanitarian aid is not gathered through taxes, like most established nations, but is instead raised through the hard work of the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam and contributions of individuals of a persecuted minority indigenous community who are inspired to do the same, witnessing the SPH's relentless sacrifices and unshakable commitment towards this mission. 5. Disinformation against Kailaasa. False, defamatory, and derogatory claims that Kailaasa's sister city agreement was a scam. Kailaasa is a sovereign entity as per international law. Kailaasa is the revival of the ancient enlightened Hindu civilizational nation, which is being resurrected by displaced Hindus from around the world. Kailaasa is bridging cultures, encouraging interreligious dialogue, and continuing our Hindu-based humanitarian services, promoting global peace through a better understanding of diverse cultures. On November 9th, 2023, Kailaasa contributed 3 million Guarani worth of medical aid to support the people of Paraguay. Kailaasa is committed to making a lot more such contributions. However, it is unfortunate that Hindu-phobic and racist articles such as this one in The Guardian have derailed the humanitarian services that Kailaasa is committed to providing. Instead of recognizing these extraordinary contributions, The Guardian, by hosting and publishing this article, has put systematic and focused efforts into perpetuating deeply harmful disinformation that directly affects the vulnerable communities who are the beneficiaries of Kailaasa's humanitarian aid. We demand a sincere and unambiguous apology for the blatant inaccuracies presented in your article. A correction or clarification, acknowledging the false information and providing accurate details about Kailaasa is imperative to rectify the harm caused. Your role as a responsible media entity obliges you to act in the public interest and uphold journalistic integrity. We anticipate your prompt cooperation in setting the record straight and, in doing so, cease the perpetuation of harmful narratives. We are open to further discussions and willing to provide additional information. Thank you for your immediate attention to this matter, and we expect a resolute and corrective response as soon as possible. Thank you.